Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. I know, I said I wasn't going to put any more colour on my hair, but you know what, it was so light last time and it just looked like you could see bleached hair and barely any colour in it, and I thought if I'm going to be growing it out, I don't want it to look horrible. If I was going to cut it, I would just buzz it all off, but nope. So I went to Sally Beauty today and I bought Manic Panic. Oh, what was the colour again? Voodoo Blue. So I've done some magic with my hair. It probably won't stay this intense for too long. A lot of my hair is my natural colour, like the first couple of inches is my natural colour. And so it will probably stick to the bleached parts longer. So yeah, I do feel so right with crazy coloured hair. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that's what I'm used to now. So I did a little clip earlier, which I'm going to insert later on. I finished quilting the string-pieced quilt. I'm not going to try unrolling it right now. It's all rolled up over there. I have very sore fingers. I did end up using a thimble on this finger, but I was really having to like yank the needle through, and this finger was getting so sore. And what I ended up doing is because there's 36 blocks, so there's just 5 lines one way, 5 lines the other, plus all the way around the outside. That's all I did. I was thinking of doing some of the diagonals as well, and I thought, no, couldn't be bothered. And it's kind of a long stitch quilting because, yeah, I wasn't going to try and do teeny tiny stitches. It would have taken me forever. It's a very informal quilt, being such a scrappy quilt, and I think stitches are fine. They look fine on the back anyway. The backing is grey and the thread is grey, so it looks great because you can't see the stitches. Anyway, you'll see more of that later on. Good news, the snowy wheat puff beanie is done. I got the name right that time, first time. You impressed? So this is by Brianna K Designs. I'll put the link down below. It was a Ravelry discovery. I get all my patterns via Ravelry. If ever I want to make something, I go to their advanced search because it's just the best online anywhere. And you can pay for the pattern if you want lots of different sizes or if you want a specific size. I just followed the free video tutorial. And she does a small adult size in there, so I did the same amount of stitches. So you construct it sideways. So where's my seam? Hang on. Where's my seam? Okay, so there's a seam here. So you start by chaining enough chains for the vertical length. And I just did that. She said it was an adult small, and she said to do 13 repeats of this textured pattern. It's 2 rows of single crochet in the back loop and 2 rows of the puff stitch. I did 17, not 13, because there was no way it was going to fit anybody at 13. Now, I didn't do a gauge swatch, and there's a reason I didn't do a gauge swatch. I was using the free video version of the pattern, and the only gauge information I could see was on the Ravelry project pattern page, Ravelry pattern page, and it didn't say whether the stitch gauge was measured over single crochet, double crochet, puff stitches, anything. So I didn't do a gauge swatch. And anyway, with hats I tend not to do it anyway. So I knew that it being sideways construction, I could just keep on going till it stretched around my head. And it's pretty snug. I didn't want it to fall off, obviously, so I made it really snug. And there's a really bumpy bit right there. I wonder why that bit looks so bumpy. Anyway, so when you slip stitch the seam to close it up into a tube, I was doing the longer brim option, and I knew that I was going to be turning the brim up. So when I was slip stitching it closed, the seam looks fine from both sides, so you don't have to worry about it looking ugly when you turn up the brim. But I did make sure to weave my ends in, so it's going to be inside the turnip. Inside the turnip. And then you cinch up the top, because there's no crown shaping, you just cinch the top up. She shows that when she's finished down here, she kind of runs her yarn up the seam of the hat and just goes around. I had finished off down here before I rewatched the video, realized that's what she did. So I just used a new piece of yarn to cinch up the top. I double stranded it, and I tried not to go through too much of the stitches up the top, because I didn't want it too bulky. I wanted it to close up. Now, some of her hats do have pom-poms on, and obviously that would it would hide any hole that was left up here. But I managed to cinch it pretty tight. But I did leave my ends hanging inside, just in case I add a pom-pom and I want to tie one on. So I'm really happy with that. I'm not going to try it on again now, because, I just put a bit of gel on my hair so that it wasn't too flat, and I'm not going to go flattening it again. But I just tried it on and looked in the bathroom mirror, and I'm really pleased with it. So to give you the full benefit of my yarn review here for this Lion Brand Re-Spun, I am going to put it in the washer and the dryer. Actually putting it in the dryer could be tricky, because at the moment, I'm mostly hanging out my clothes on the clothesline outside. So I might just wash it and hang it to dry, just to see if it does soften up at all. Can't really dry it on its own, can I? I'm pretty sure where's my bag? Hold on one second. I am pretty sure the label says it's machine dryable as well as machine washable. Yeah, it is. So this is Lion Brand Re-Spun, not the thick and quick version. It is 100% recycled polyester. It is a 10-ounce skein. Oh, I didn't weigh how much I used. There's still all of this left. So 10-ounce skein, 284 grams. Oh, I could probably get 3 of these out of there, or at least 2 anyway. 658 yards, 602 meters. Made in India. So I will weigh that, because I'm going to have to update my Ravelry project page. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that yarn. Now, I did wonder whether to make a matching cowl. And you know what? You could use this exact pattern to make a matching cowl. You could probably just, because there's a small amount of ribbing at the top edge, you could make the ribbing at the top and the bottom the same, and make a cowl, and just sew it into a tube and not do the cinching, and you'd have a matching set. But I'm not sure I'd want to have this around my neck against so much skin. As I've said before, it's got kind of a rustic wool feeling almost to it. And yeah, I think I can definitely wear that and have it next to my forehead, but I'm not sure if I'd want to have it all the way around my neck. I do love this texture stitch though. Very impressed. Okay. So today is Saturday the 23rd of August. Just published a video yesterday. Vlog, I think it was vlog 114. And if you didn't see it, go check it out, because between the time I published it and 2 weeks later, which is what, I don't know, early September, there's a 2-week window for you to enter the giveaway. I made this bag here, this teeny little drawstring bag made out of tea-dyed linen and a little bit of tea-dyed Aida with a cross stitch on it and lots of other embroidery. And the lining is the same tea-dyed linen, and then it's got a jute string and a couple of little wooden buttons on it. So that is the prize in the giveaway. So if you're seeing this late August 2025 or beginning of September, then go like, subscribe, comment. As I say, there's a special comment you have to do, and I mentioned that at the end of vlog number 114. Go check it out. So as this is my birthday weekend, which is why I was doing the giveaway, I wanted to get out and do some special things this weekend. So I thought, okay, I'll go to one farmer's market Saturday morning and I'll go to a different one on Sunday morning. So Mr. Stitches and I get out bright and early, about 7:40 this morning, to head off down to one of the farmers markets. Unfortunately, there's been a road accident. A motorcyclist somehow came off his bike, and we don't know what the result of it was, but it must have been pretty serious because the road ended up being closed for 3 hours. And yeah, unfortunately, he might not have survived the accident, because that's the only reason we can think of for the highway being that closed that long. But of course, we came by just after it happened and got stuck in traffic. We were sitting in traffic for an hour with no way to get out of it. So luckily, it was early. It wasn't boiling hot, so we could switch off the engine and not idle the engine, and just sit there with the windows open and try and be patient. It's not like we were missing anything super important, and we were not cooking in the car. If it had happened at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it would have been 35 degrees and we'd have been running the engine just so that we didn't sweat ourselves to death. So I feel bad for whoever it was who got hurt in that accident. And in the end, what the police officers did is they came and told everyone to turn around. So we were literally driving up the highway on the wrong side of the road and up the access ramp the wrong way just to get out. And in the end, we thought, well, we're just not going to bother going to the farmer's market now. We'll just go back home. So we went back home, and then after a little while, we ended up going and just doing the errands that we were going to do in the afternoon. So I went and got my hair colour, went to the library. I got about 10 books today. Cookbooks, craft books, and novels. A good haul. And what else did we do? Recycling. Exciting, huh? So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for tomorrow, hoping we'll get to the farmer's market. We're going to take our swimming things with us. It's going to be hot again. And so I definitely want to go in the lake for a swim. I think I've only been in about 2 or 3 times this year. Terrible. Got a lake just down the road, and we've got the weather, and we just don't take advantage of it. So that's what's happening tomorrow. And also I want to pick up some chocolate chips and some ice cream, because I want to make I want to make chocolate chip cookies, but I want to make ice cream sandwiches. So instead of birthday cake, I am going to make chocolate chip cookies, and we'll sandwich them together with ice cream, and I'll have ice cream sandwiches for my birthday. Looking forward to that. The string-pieced quilt is quilted by hand with a kind of long stitch method. We're not going to be looking too closely at my quilting stitches because they're not that great. My fingers are very, very sore right now. I did have to do a teeny tiny fix right here. There was a little bit of batting showing right under there. I had obviously not cut this piece quite long enough so where it's supposed to go all the way into the seam, there was a tiny little bit missing. So I put this yellow fabric on there. I used some light heat and bond to fuse it on in place and then blanket stitched around it. Had to pull out a lot of random threads from it as well. So the next job will be to trim the batting and backing. This is what the back looks like. And then bind it. And I think I'm going to use a binding that's a little bit wider than usual. I'll probably cut it 3 inches to end up with 1/2 inch showing on the front. Just so that my edge stitches, I did some basting stitches all around the edge as well as the quilting, so it's all attached nicely. And I want to make sure those are covered up when I put the binding on. What a beautiful day to be out in the sun right next to the lake. Been to the farmer's market. We've done our steps for the day. Now we're getting all refreshed at the beach. I am super warm. The air conditioning vent is right above my head. I'm still too warm. The joys of being 63. I have a massive pile of fabric here on my table. I've moved my sewing machine back to the correct table now, and I have been attaching my binding to this quilt. I chose a rather fun, black, spotty, colourful fabric. Oh, I think that was the butterfly going by. I'm hoping I allowed myself enough fabric here. Yeah, I think so. So normally I cut my binding 2.5 inches wide, and then I fold it in half, and then you sew it on with a 3/8 of an inch seam, wrap it around the edge. Works out, I don't know, what, 3/8 of an inch wide to finish. This time I cut it 3 inches wide so that it ends up, hopefully, 1/2 inch finished. So that's what I'm hoping. So I will be, once again, hand sewing that binding down on the back. Wow. Who knew I'd be so into hand sewing at this stage in my life? So it's been a fun day today. We went out and we went over to the farmers market, the one I did last year when I was selling or attempting to sell all the bags and things I was making. I did not make a lot of money at it, which is why I didn't bother doing it this year. That plus turning a hobby into a business isn't always a good idea. I don't like making multiples of stuff just so that people have, 6 colors to choose from in the same style or 6 styles to choose from in the same color. It's just not me. So it was nice to see around. So what we did was we parked a fair distance away so that we could walk along the waterfront, go to the market, have a look around, say hello to a bunch of people I know because they were my neighbours at the market last year, and then walk back and then have a couple of swims, and that was lovely. Oh, so nice. The water was still quite cold, colder than I was expecting, but very refreshing. And I had a little tiny bit of sunbathing in between the 2 swims. I haven't done any of that this year, and it was very, very good for the soul. So after that, we came home and I had cooked some chickpeas. So I made some amazing hummus. Normally I put tahini in my hummus and I didn't have any. So this time I put some harissa in. We have some plain harissa at the moment. It adds a lovely flavor in to whatever you put it in. You don't need much. It's a kind of a smoky, slightly spicy flavor. The one I had before was a smoked one, which was awesome. Haven't been able to get it again. So we have the plain one right now. And it's the best hummus I've ever made. It's great. Oh, and I forgot to say before we went out, I made pancakes as well. I thought, it's my birthday. I am going to make a special breakfast. So I made some banana pancakes, and I just made enough batter for the 2 of us because I thought, kids aren't even up yet. They're not even going to know whether we had pancakes or not. So a little stack of pancakes each, and then I heated up some frozen berries with some maple syrup and lemon juice to go on the side. Very, very good. Very good indeed. I have made the chocolate chip cookies for the ice cream sandwiches tonight. I attempted to film the making of the cookies. I nearly had my phone land in my batter. But apart from that, they're baked, and I couldn't find chocolate chips at the supermarket. I know there's a bit of a shortage of cacao or cocoa at the moment, and that's why it's got more expensive over the last few years. So I ended up buying just a big bar of the supermarket chocolate, the store brand chocolate, President's Choice, I think it was, 70% chocolate. And I just chopped it up and threw that into the cookies, and hoping it's going to have worked. I also got 2 tubs of So Delicious ice cream. I got a vanilla with a cashew base, so vanilla flavor, and a chocolate, what was it called? I can't remember, chocolate something, anyway. a vanilla one and a chocolate one. So we've got the choice of which one to put in inside our 2 cookies when we have our dessert. So once I'd had lunch and let somebody else clean up, because I do not do dishes on my birthday, I'll tell you that, I came down here to work on the quilt. Slicing off the messy edges on quilts is one of my favorite things to do. So when you take off all the excess batting and backing, it looks so neat and tidy. And then I just had to do a bit of math and figure out how much length of binding I needed. And I always take the measurements of the circumference of the quilt, and I allow a couple of inches per corner and a bit for overlap. And you have to allow a bit for joining the strips, because I had to cut 6 strips of fabric. And I had this much left over. So I mathed correctly, which is awesome. And I have to show you what my sister sent me for my birthday. Weeks ago, she was so on the ball this year that my birthday present arrived. Not that she always sends me one, because she lives a long way away. But this gift arrived weeks ago, feels like weeks ago anyway. And I said to her at the time, do you want me to open this now or wait till my birthday? And she said, wait. Okay then. So I waited, and this morning I got to open this. So I'll show you the card. It's absolutely gorgeous. So most of you won't know, but this, I don't know if you can even see it. It's so, what's the word? It's a very light color. So the shape of this here, that's the island of Jersey. That's the outline of Jersey. That's where I was born and I grew up. An absolutely gorgeous card. Handmade in Jersey by Liz Lowe. Liz Lowe, L-O-W-E. If you want to have a look. I don't know if she's online. I have not looked it up. But beautiful card. And inside it was this. My sister put this in there. It says, a heart without dreams is like a bird without feathers. My heart's always dreaming about making stuff. I don't know about yours. You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? Okay, this is going to be a bit funny. Hopefully not offensive. I'm a bit disgruntled. I was yakking away, and then I looked down at my microphone, realised the lights weren't on, so it wasn't recording. So I think we got as far as the Robin card, and then I started talking about farts, and the microphone turned off. It must have been offended by the subject matter. And the reason I was talking about farts is that this is what my sister sent me for my birthday. It's a pack of playing cards. It's called 52 Farts, and it says a deck of cards that also defines every type of gas ever passed, like the megaphone, the butt trumpet, the crop duster, and it gives full definitions and pronunciation guides for everything. 52 different versions of farts. Now, she had some of these cards when we last went to Jersey back in April for my mum's funeral. She had some of these, and I did consider buying some, but I was down to my last bit of cash and I decided not to. So she obviously knew that I absolutely needed some of these. Yep, still working. If that little green light goes off, tell me, okay? So the funny thing is that yesterday when we were waiting for a whole hour in traffic, Mr. Stitches looks in my glove box and says, don't you have a pack of cards in here we can play with? I was like, no, I don't own a pack of playing cards anymore. And now I do. And I am going to make sure that I take these with me wherever I go. I'm going to put them into my denim backpack that I carry around everywhere. So I will always be prepared for traffic holdups and other times when you need something to do that's maybe not reliant on Wi-Fi. Oh, getting dry. Excuse me a minute. Absolutely hilarious pack of cards. Going to enjoy those. Another thing I was talking about when my microphone decided to cut out was I was talking about my binding, Karen of Just Get It Done Quilts has an absolutely ingenious way of joining your two ends. You leave a tail, you sew around, you leave a tail, and you do this neat little nifty thing where you sew it together and it flattens down perfectly. It looks like it was meant to be, and it you know. So I did not do that because I have tried that and it's perfectly wonderful. But could I be bothered to look up the method again? No. So instead, I started out with just folding under about 1/2 inch of my binding, sewing right from the beginning of the binding, getting all the way around. And when I got towards the end, I trimmed it about, let's see, an inch past where the other one started. And then just sewed it down. I used a little bit of fabric glue, although it's not holding well at all, but I did put a bit of fabric glue in between the layers so that when I fold it over and over like this, hopefully it'll all stay together, because I noticed that when you've got multiple layers and you're trying to fold it around the bulk of the batting and the fabrics, it tends not to lie very flat. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. I'm going to be hand stitching it so I can ease it over as I go. I'm very glad to say that my sewing machine sewed this binding on without a hitch. I was a bit nervous about it. If you were watching vlog number 114, you'll have seen the sewing machine jam up, and it started making a very strange friction noise around the bobbin case after that, and I was really worried about it. I just paid a guy $100 and something to service this machine, and I thought, oh no, I don't want to have to call him out again. So I'm hoping it's going to be okay and that this little shishing noise will stop on its own, because I don't want to be paying any more money to get it fixed. All right, time to turn this camera off and get on with the next thing. I got a photograph of my quilt hanging out on my washing line this morning because the sunlight made it look so much prettier. I'm going to hold it up here as well. It is finished. Woohoo! I think the border works well. There's bits of fluff and threads on everything, but the little spotty border works well, just to frame it. So it is ready to give. Now, let's see if I can line you up. Oh, you're too high. Hold on a minute. So yeah, my plan for that, oh, you're wobbling too. My plan for that quilt was to give it to one of my sons. We haven't done anything with his bedroom yet. We were going to get him a new bed and clean out all the old crap. And that has not been done yet, unfortunately. But it can live in here, folded up until everything's ready. Years and years and years and years and years ago, when I was about 21, 22, I was working in insurance. I had quite the insurance career way back when. And my boss paid for me to go to a course with him, and it was a Dale Carnegie course. And one of the things, the only thing really I remember from that is do the nasties first. And you know what? That's actually a really good idea. I had quite the list of things I wanted to do today. And there was a festival admin, and there was a workout, and there was talk to you about the quilt and how the hat turned out from the washing process. And so it's not that any of those were really nasty, but they were maybe less desirable than the actual talking about crafts to you guys. But I was a good girl. I got up, I had my breakfast, got dressed. I did a good chunk of festival admin, chasing people up, asking for donations. It's not being very productive. It's a little bit demoralizing when you throw out a dozen emails and nothing comes back at all. However, we shall persevere. And I did my 30-minute workout. I got a little bit of film of it, but I don't know if it's usable. I'll have to look at it once I put it up on Clipchamp. And I did 2 loads of laundry. So that was fine. So now that I've had a little snack and I'm having my cup of Yorkshire tea, I want to show you the quilt. And as long as you don't look too closely at it, it looks pretty nice, right? So what I like about those string piece blocks, they have a very obvious diagonal, and you can arrange them in lots of different ways. So I could have just done them all one way, or I could have done them zigzagging. What I chose to do was this quadrant was all this way, this quadrant was this way, and this way, and this way. So the center comes together in a rather nice pattern and it radiates out. But there's so many ways you can arrange those blocks to look different. And it was a fantastic scrap buster, I have to say. I still have a massive bag of scraps down here on the floor, so I think I need to come up with another scrap using a project that's not just something tiny like I've been making lately, but something big. I'm not really into making big quilts these days, though. The trouble with quilts is I enjoy the piecing and the sewing the top together, but after that, I don't really want to have anything to do with it. So maybe I will have to come up with some projects that are a medium size that I can create lovely scrappy fabric and maybe just make large totes instead of quilts. There you go. That's the plan now. All right, before I wind up this, I just want to show you a couple of things. A friend of mine, her partner 3D printed her a Groot. Now, I don't know if I've ever seen the movie which featured Groot, but I know the character. Obviously, I've seen the character online many times. And it's a beautifully 3D printed thing, but it's even more beautifully painted. She must have spent hours getting the depth of color perfect, and the fading and graduating and getting the darker color into all the wrinkles on its skin and that. So look, because she came over to show it to us and found out it was going to be my birthday the following weekend. So this was Friday. She came over on Friday, and I don't know whether she intended to give me this, but when she found out, or was reminded it was my birthday on Sunday. She left this behind for me. Isn't it brilliant? It is so clever. The plant in the top isn't real. It's just a teeny bit of styrofoam and a bit of a plastic plant, like the kind you get at Michael's. But it's so detailed. I mean, look, she must have spent forever getting that paint just right. I would never have been able to do that and get it so realistic looking. Realistic. It's not a real character, is it? It's not a real thing out in nature, but you know what I mean. Absolutely fantastic. And finally, let's get to the and finally, shall we? My final comments on the Lion Brand Re-Spun. I've got turquoise hair color in my nails. I haven't shampooed the stain off yet because I want it to stick as long as possible. And so every time I scratch or touch my hair, I get turquoise nails. Yeah, Lion Brand Re-Spun, 100% recycled polyester. I enjoyed working with this. I've said before, it felt almost like a Guernsey yarn. You know, I don't know if you've ever had a traditional Jersey or Guernsey. Obviously, coming from Jersey, the island has its very special sweaters. Guernsey has its very special sweaters. In fact, I think Alderney, which is another of the islands in the group, has their own sweaters as well, if I remember right. And I even started knitting my dad one when I was probably 18. I think I only got the first couple of inches done. That's what this feels like. It feels a bit like a fisherman's wool in a way. So if you were wanting to make yourself some sort of Guernsey, then this, and if you're allergic to wool, this would be a perfect substitute. So the hat is now not only done, but it has been washed and dried. I did laundry today. I hung most of it outside, but for science, I put this plus a few other bits and pieces in the dryer just to see if it softened up at all. And I'm trying to decide. It didn't really change much. Like, if you use Red Heart Super Saver, you might have noticed that if you make a blanket with it, sometimes it can feel a little stiff, but then you put it in the washer and dryer and it comes out nice and drapey and much softer. This hasn't really changed much, but that's okay. I still love it. It's going to be my go-to winter toque, as we say in Canada. I will put it up with my accessories on the shelf by the front door, ready for the cold weather. I think that's it for today. Now that I have finished the beanie and the quilt, I do need to get on with the sweater, embellishing the front of that knitted sweater. Really, really, really need to do that. And I was thinking about it, as I do. When I'm supposed to be going to sleep at night, I think about these things. I have figured out how to do the central design on the very front of the sweater at the solar plexus level. I figured out how to do that, and then I'll radiate out from there. So that should be in the next vlog. Another thing I want to do is make a narrower version of this headband that I made a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to have a little fun with trying to upcycle something. My son has had this laptop bag in his room for years, and it was his brother's, and I think it's probably over 15 years old. Parts of it are degrading badly, and he was going to just put it in a thrift. And then I looked at it this morning, I thought it's really only good for the trash. But I have had a change of heart. I am going to try deconstructing it and see if I can salvage some of the fabric and the padding from it. So hopefully you'll get to see that in the next vlog too. So once again, go back and look at vlog number 114 and enter the giveaway if you're seeing this before like the 4th of September 2025, and come back and see me for vlog 116. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.